even know when the last time it was that I got on here to say anything. And certainly a lot has happened. I'm still in the race for mayor in my town, my city of Albany, New York. I live with what feels like an unending migraine and a perpetual stomach ache. My anxiety level is through the roof and never comes down. I never eat. I'm medicating myself to sleep because of the anxiety, the long hours. And I'm not enjoying it at all. I mean, there are moments where I really, really enjoy myself. And then in moments where I just want to quit. I just want to quit. Most of the time I actually just want to quit. There are days when I want to just lay perfectly still and stare at the wall. In fact, yesterday was one of those days. I had a morning event where the mayor was, and I run into the mayor frequently now because I keep crashing all her events with my big mayor badge on. Not to be a jerk, but that's what you got to do. I got to get the visibility. People have to know who I am and what I'm doing, and that I'm not going to give up. And so I was there. It was a wreath laying for a Black World War I hero, Henry Johnson. Senators, assemblymen, police chiefs, they were all there. Then right from there, I had to go to an Unmask Our Children event at the Capitol steps. And I just, on all those, I have to talk to people. They're in my face. They want to ask questions. I never know where people stand. I don't know if they're being genuine with me. I don't know. So I feel like I'm constantly dancing on my tippy toes. I'm constantly dancing. And it stresses me out. It's like the anxiety. I mean, like, I'm cool in the moment, but I'm eternally sick. And then after that second event, I had to go to like a Black Lives Matter event where they were doing a march through the city, like banging drums and shouting with bullhorns. And it was perfectly peaceful. It was noisy, people were upset and passionate, but it was peaceful and like there wasn't any violence or anything. I just came home, I put the air conditioning on in my bedroom, and I stripped down in my underwear. I just never do this. And I just stripped down in my underwear. I got under my blankets, and I laid there, and I just stared, and I just needed to breathe. Because going to those Black Lives Matter events is stressful. They're usually angry. And I don't care about their anger, but they're specifically angry, like, at me for what I represent. The white privileged Karen. And, again, I don't care if people yell at me. I literally don't. Whatever. But the anxiety in that moment is a human anxiety. I can absorb all of it. It's just that energy, it gets to you. It does get to you mentally. And my husband took my kids all day. Again, it's a Saturday. All day. They had a huge event. They had like an event at the park. They had slip and slides, and they had games and a carnival. And I missed the whole thing. I missed the entire thing because I had to do mayor events. And then I'm in between. So now I'm laying in my underwear in my bed. I just never do that. I was like, wow, I must really be like stressing out. Going back into my like fetal position. It's just out of character for me. And so I'm laying there staring off into space. I couldn't close my eyes. I just like physically couldn't close my eyes. So I was just staring blank. And my mom called. She's like, hey, can you come help me hang a picture? So I probably laid down for like 4 minutes. And I was like, oh, sure. Yes, I will absolutely come over. She's not supposed to be lifting anything heavy. She's still on her chemo. Her legs have swollen twice their size. They're eternally inflamed. They look horrible. They ooze out of her shoes. Like ooze. I don't know how else to describe it. They're not even swollen out of her shoes. They're like oozing out of her shoes. They hurt her eternally. She hasn't had chemo in like 3 weeks because she had to drive down to Florida with my dad and close up my grandmother's home because they sold it, and my grandmother doesn't understand because she had a stroke and she's super frail and they don't want to tell her. I think she's going to die soon. I'm just going to put that out there. I think she's going to die soon. She's living a miserable life. She hates her life. It's evident. She cries constantly. She screams, and she's clear-minded. She's not gone in her mind, but she's trapped in her body. She's in perpetual pain that she cannot communicate about. She has diarrhea 10 times a day. She can barely eat anything because of her stroke. She can't lift her arms. She's always leaning on it. She's covered in bruises. She has giant bed sores. This isn't what she wanted for herself. She's being kept alive on the sheer willpower of my aunts and uncles. I have utter compassion for that. Truly. I never want to be in that position. I pray to God I'm never in that position where my mother wants to die. But I can't let her go. I don't know how hard that must be to honor the wishes of your loved one when you so desperately want them to be with you, even if they can't talk, even if they're drooling and pooping on themselves. I just don't know what that's like, and I know my mom is struggling. She brings it up a lot. My grandmother's visibly getting worse, and all they have to do to let her go would be to stop her dialysis. But they can't bring themselves to ask her, and the dialysis is a horrible, miserable experience for her. It's miserable. Those horrible, low-paid aides with no education and no human compassion. They leave her in her poop. They don't treat her well, and we all know it. My mom is still bankrupting herself emotionally, physically, to do everything she can. I think my grandmother's alive on the sheer willpower of my mom. I've actually asked God to take my grandmother home. But I wonder if my grandmother died, if my mom wouldn't want to live. And now I can't live with that. My children are too young. They need my mom. I need my mom. So my mom hasn't been on chemo in like weeks. And she's like secretly happy. She's like, well, I feel great because I'm not on the chemo. I'm like, you have freaking cancer. Get back on your chemo. God. Sorry, Lord. Anyway, I had to face the mayor, the incumbent mayor, a few nights ago on a forum. We did a forum. It wasn't like facing her down. It wasn't like, Trump versus Ted Cruz. But, it was a Zoom thing. I was really scared leading up to it. I was really scared. I worked hard to prepare for it, and I had people helping me the whole time, feeding me information, doing a good job. And I had two things with me that day. I had talked to my mom earlier in the day, and I said, Mom, I'm scared. I said, I feel very alone, which is a horrible thing to say because my mother has shown up for everything. She's cooked every meal. She's cleaned my house. I can't stay on top of the house. I can't cook anything. I can't be a mom. And my husband has been the mother. And my mom has been the mother while I do this. And it's literally, there are days, it's the only thing that keeps me going. Is to know that if I were to stop or quit or not even do a good job, that my mom, I would dishonor how hard my mother has worked for me. There are days that the thought of my mother, her labor and toil for my family, is the only thing that keeps me from quitting, because I know she believes in me that much. And I can't let myself dishonor that. But my anxiety and stress is like, it's like almost, I think it's probably the worst I've ever experienced in my life, because it won't go away. There's not any respite from it. And so I said to my mom, like, Mom, I feel so alone. I know I'm not alone, but there are just days I go to all these events by myself because other people work a job. You know, people can't just drop their life, and I actually have the kind of life where I can. I have a part-time job. My kids are in school, and so I go to a lot of these things alone. I think people probably don't even think I have a husband and children. Everyone calls me Miss Purdy. And she said, I said, I know I'm not alone, Mom. I said, you've been amazing. I know I'm not alone. I said, but I feel alone oftentimes when I go to like these Black Lives Matter events where people are really aggressive, or even like a heavily pro-America event. And people are aggressive at those too, just differently aggressive for different reasons. And everybody's really pushy with me. I'm just pressed on every side, and I'm just always I never have like a wingman to talk to, nothing. I always take my own pictures. Anyway, she's like, you know, Alicia, she said it nicely, not badly, but she's like, Alicia, she said, I often feel alone as well on my cancer journey. I'm like, okay, you win. But she said, I know there are other people who have cancer. Obviously, I know there are other people who are going through what I'm going through. There are other people who are having bad side effects from chemo. There are other people who are afraid for their lives. There are other people who deeply desire to see how it all turns out for their loved ones. And she said, I know I'm not alone. I have Jesus with me in my heart. She said, I know I have my family. She said, but sometimes you just bear this burden by yourself and nobody can help you. She said, there are days when I feel very, very alone in this journey. And of course I was like so convicted. I was like, I said, you're right, Mom, you're right. I said, I understand what you're saying. There are people with you, but there are just some things that nobody can really bear with you emotionally. And I said, I'm sorry if I haven't been there more for you. But again, people can be there for you, but they're not you. And so I went into this debate. I went upstairs to my computer, my little mayor corner I have with my sign, my Alicia Purdy for mayor, and I had a beautiful necklace and an outfit on. And I thought, what am I going to wear? I'm only going to be seen from the chest up. And I thought, what am I going to wear? So I put on this dress, and my mom had given me a huge box of jewelry from my grandma's house when she had gone to Florida. My mom knows I love my grandmother's super cool, amazing vintage jewelry. Costume jewelry, but super cool. So my mom got me boxes, and some of it's crap, but my mom got me boxes and boxes of it so I could go through it, and it was so fun. I love doing that kind of stuff. So my mom had, one of the things I found was sort of this Ruth Bader Ginsburg gold crocheted looking, but it wasn't actual crochet. It was made from like beadwork, kind of a collar. So I wore that collar, this gold collar, with this green dress that I had. And I thought, I could wear a pair of my grandmother's earrings. But instead, I was thinking about my mom and that conversation and the cancer and how she feels alone, and how she cleans my house and cooks and buys me endless rotisserie chickens so I don't have to cook. She shows up constantly a couple nights a week with 2 rotisserie chickens. She's like, there you go, now you don't have to cook. My husband's like, for the love of God, I don't want any more rotisserie chicken in my life. And I'm like, this mayoral race has been brought to you by rotisserie chicken from BJ's. And my Linda Blom Johnson pens. So I decided to wear this pair of earrings that my mom bought me back when I was 17. Christmas 1994. I was 17 and I wanted real jewelry. So my mom, like unbeknownst to me, picks me out this pair of real gold earrings. I think they're 14 karat. It might even be 10 karat. I don't know. Maybe 10 karat gold earrings. They're hollow. They're hoops, really small hoops. Kind of hang down a little bit. Anyway, they're pretty. And right after that Christmas, I left for Africa. Like 3 days after Christmas, it was like the 28th. And I went to Africa for several months. South Africa. And while I was there, everything I owned was stolen. Everything. Every single item I owned. I literally only had the clothes on my back. My passport was stolen. Everything. Everything was gone. And my stuff was stolen. That van that had all my stuff, and it was stolen the day I was leaving Africa. So they also stole some very precious items. They stole my camera, all my film from 3 months of being in Africa. They stole every memento I had purchased. They stole my journals. They really stole something from me that affected the rest of my life, especially those journals, my photography. I just gone from one of the most monumental trips I've ever taken in my life. So that day, I'm leaving Africa. I'm on my way to the airport. Everything I own gets stolen as I'm in a restaurant. But I had those earrings on. And I still have those earrings to this day. Thank you, Jesus. I'm so grateful for that. My mom bought me those earrings as, my first gift of something very precious and expensive. And, so I had those on that day. And I wore them during the mayoral forum I was on. And I put them on because I thought, my mother is the strongest person I know. And these earrings remind me of her. And I need her strength right now. I need to remember I am not alone. And yes, maybe I have to stand in this moment in a solitary place. But I am not alone. And I want to remember that there are other people out there who have it worse than me. The worst thing that was happening was that I had to confront the mayor and push back on her garbage thoughts about critical race theory. My mother has cancer. I am not alone. And there is someone out there stronger than me, facing a worse battle. And I am wearing these earrings to remind myself. And every time I looked at myself on the camera, and I could see these earrings, and I could see my grandmother's jewelry that my mother packed up for me during a hard moment for her when she had to close up her mother's house because her mother is dying. And so I wore those earrings. My mom came over after the debate, and she just was like, Alicia, you knocked it out of the park.
If you received a $1 million grant to use for the city any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why? And the reason this question is such a good question is that this gives our viewers an idea of what your priorities are. And Alicia, we're going to start with you.
Okay. So what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to set aside crime. That's something that we're all going to have to address in a multifaceted manner. And I want to address the 3 platforms that I'm running on: transparency, accountability, and livability. So I'm going to address livability. If I had $1 million and crime wasn't an issue, let's just say I want to address people's everyday livability. I kind of giggled to myself when I heard the thing about the light bulbs, because I'll tell you what comes up to me all the time: light bulbs, potholes, blight, snow removal, and garbage. I interviewed a man the other day that said when he came here from Pakistan, he was so shocked and disappointed to see that Everett Road was filled with panhandlers and garbage. Plenty of people know that it's there. It's like a joke. And so one of the things I would do with that $1 million is I would invest it right back into the city, and I would deal with our livability issues. Like I said, we are overrun with these little things that nitpick people to death, and it ruins their experience living in the city of Albany. They don't feel comfortable walking on the street because there's no light bulbs. There's exposed wires down on Sherwood. There's one right by my house. I mean, this kind of stuff where we overlook the everyday. It's because maybe we're not the ones tripping over and falling. Blind people, I just talked the other day, they're having a hard time. There's no batteries in the crossing. They see, click, fix. They're doing all these things. $1 million, easy money, would go right back into improving the livability of the residents of Albany.
She said it was amazing, and she said, you won. You were the clear winner. The second thing I had with me was I had a coin called the Challenge coin from a World War II veteran. He gave it to me a few months ago when I was at a veterans breakfast. He's the last remaining member of his battalion, and he's a hero from the Battle of the Bulge. His name is Alan Atwell. And after hearing me kind of share my vision for Albany, all these things, he comes up and gives me this challenge coin. And he says, I want you to win the city of Albany. That's my challenge. So I was wearing my mom's earrings that she gave me. So tied up with memory. Such a reminder that I'm not alone. And there are worse battles than this. And I had Alan Atwell's challenge coin sitting on my computer. I had it setting right next to me so that when I would look down, I would think about what he must have gone through. It was the highest casualties in World War II was the Battle of the Bulge. It took place in January and December of 1944. And I looked down and I was just awash with, I saw a Band of Brothers, and it was about the Battle of the Bulge, and I was in there, and I just thought, Alicia, you're barely even facing a battle. You signed up for this, Alicia. You signed up for this. Your mother didn't sign up for cancer. If it weren't for my mother and what she's done to support me in this, I think I would have quit. There have been wonderful, good people who believe in me, and that's a whole different kind of pressure. But I get up in the morning, or I stay up late at night and plan and make lists, and I haven't gone door to door because my anxiety level is just, it's unbearable. There are days when I'm really tempted to just drink and be a little bit drunk before I go out, because that's so not me. I really value being clear-minded. But the price you pay to keep your mind clear is facing down yourself, your anxiety about something. And the thing is with anxiety is has nothing to do with what's actually happened. It's at this unrealistic state of mind, because out of all the bad things that have happened to me, if I could put a percentage on it in this mayoral race, out of all the bad things versus the good things that have happened, I would say the bad things are maybe 70 to 30%. But it's grossly skewed. I mean, and the good things have definitely have outweighed the bad things. And that's what anxiety is. It's in your head, and it overemphasizes the bad things. It overemphasizes, I in my head, I'm being trolled constantly. Meanwhile, I am being trolled constantly, but it's by one person. It's not by a mob. Sometimes two people. Most people don't even acknowledge me. They just leave me alone. Nothing bad has happened to me, really. And so I do have to confront other people, obviously, but I have to confront myself, because my anxiety doesn't want to push me out the door. And getting out the door is is a huge part of winning something like this. And when I think about my mom and those friggin' rotisserie chickens, and how she sits up at night for hours and folds my leaflets so I can hand them out, and I don't hand them out. Here comes anxiety again. My mom comes over. She takes my kids to gymnastics. She picks them up. She brings them to their games. She sends me pictures. I just... I endlessly feel like a failure. I feel like I'm not honoring. I actually don't care about anybody else. I mean, I do, but not like I care about my mom. And I endlessly feel like I'm not honoring how hard she's working through her cancer. What the heck? But it compels me to battle my own anxiety. I can't quit. God, I want to quit so badly. I just want to go back to my life. But I won't let myself quit because of her and my husband. And then behind them, the people who have believed in me. Maybe my dad too. Of course, my dad's been amazing, but he's got his own things, going on in terms of like boots on the ground. It's my mom, my husband, and a couple of other amazing people. And it's growing. Things are growing. Things are changing. My name is getting out there. I said to my husband the other day, God, all I want to do is just like attend parties and have people celebrate me. I don't want to go to the door and have my butt handed to me by some angry Democrat. Isn't that what we all want? This is why people don't run for office. I get it now. Screw my lifelong dream of public service, of leadership on the civic scale. Anyway, I've obviously lost weight. It's just a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But I have those earrings. I wear those earrings because I need to remember. I remember so many things when I look at those earrings. My mom's going to lead worship today at church with her cancer. What a tiger lady she is. There's just nobody like her. There's just nobody like her. I hear people's stories about their loved one who died or had cancer or whatever, and they say like how strong they were, how funny they were, all these different things. And I'm like, this world needs my mother. I'm sorry. I'm sure people love their loved ones, but there's just nobody like her. She is the reason I am who I am. I look to her even in her cancer. And I'm like, Alicia, you can get through this. You can get literally through anything because of that woman. She'll never know. I could never put it into words even if I expressed it to her, and I have. She could never know. She could never know what she has done for me in my life. My mom has cancer. Jesus has the answer.